Andy's going to share that in the chat for now. Now, today, I'm very excited. We're here to discuss important topics that affect all of us: sex, aging, the shape of our bodies. But more specifically, we're here to talk about what happens when we live in a culture that makes us feel shame about our sexuality and about embracing our erotic desires. So we're going to hear the story of someone who has spent years defying this culture of shame and who's giving a voice to a generation of mature men who have been conditioned to believe that they're sexually irrelevant, old, and undesirable. So I'm excited to introduce today's speakers. Andrea, David, can you please join me on stage? Hello.
Hello.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you, everyone.
So David Pevsner, he's an actor and a writer based in Los Angeles. He's best known for his roles in shows including Grey's Anatomy, Modern Family, Criminal Minds, and many, many others. Now, he became a male escort in his 30s, and in the last few years, he has attracted a large international fan base through his blog of erotic photographs that celebrate sexuality. David is now a well-known advocate against ageism and body shaming. Thank you for being here, David. I'm
so happy to be here. Thank you.
And then Andrea Werhun is a Toronto writer, performer, and sex worker advocate. She's the co-creator and author of Modern Whore, an art book about her experiences working as an escort. We have it at the library if you want to check it out. She also has a short film adaptation of this book that was shown at 2020 festivals, including South by Southwest, Hot Dogs, and Fantasia. And Andrea has written for many publications, including Playboy, Hazlitt, and many more. So let's get this conversation started. Andrea, David, great to have you here. Andrea, take it away.
Here we go.
Thank you, Jorge. Woohoo!
Hey.
All right. Hi, David.
Hi, good to see you.
You too. I was hoping maybe you would indulge me a little bit and you'd let me tell maybe a little personal story about my experience reading your book, Damn Shame.
Have at it.
So for a little context, I have a partner. I have been with this partner for 10 years. And this partner is obsessed with anal sex. Okay. He loves anal. And I have never really been into anal because I've always found it incredibly painful. And so I'm always teasing him like, yeah, I'll practice. You know, it never happens. It never happens. So I'm a third through your book. Okay. And it's a chronological memoir, this beautiful, yeah, we are diving right in. It's a beautiful chronological memoir. And in the beginning, you're talking about your childhood. You're talking about your sexuality and the shame that's sort of commingling with it. You're talking about making love to your pillow at night, dreaming of, handsome TV dads. You're writing about, your experience looking at yourself in your reflection and dreaming of the hunky man you're about to become. And you're also writing about, your first time experiences with other men. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but something changed in me. My boyfriend and I are having sex, and he starts knocking on that back door. Usually it's locked with a deadbolt. For whatever reason, open sesame, slides right in. And we're both bewildered, but we're having anal sex. And we finished to completion. And we're both absolutely shocked and amazed. And the first thing I say is, I think this has something to do with that book I'm reading. I think David Pevsner opened up my asshole. So my first question, David.
I'm flattered. Anyway, go ahead.
How did you do that?
If somebody asked me what the agenda of the book is, it's for people to feel less shameful and more open and less icky about their fantasies and stuff that they want to do and stuff that they like, and to stop apologizing for it, to stop feeling, crappy themselves, to stop thinking people are judging them about it. It's your body. And you have the right to do what you want to do with it. And when you're with somebody, it's between the two of you. And I think, look, I don't know. There's nothing magic in the book. And I certainly don't give directions on how to do anal. But I think there is something about owning your sexual proclivities that I am a big advocate of. So maybe that's something that you got from the book and was like, you know what, I have a thing about it, but I'm going to let that thing go and I'm going to try it. And, because if it hurts, usually there's a lot of tension there. So maybe you kind of let loose of some of the tension and thought, I'm going to ride with this now. I'm going to go with it. So if the book helped you to do that, mission accomplished. Yay, she did anal.
Yeah, I'm a butt slut now. Yeah, and I mean, that sort of like brings me to something I was going to ask you about later, but I think maybe now is a good time to talk about it, which is that like you have so much experience writing autobiographical works of art, whether it is your one-man shows, whether it's this memoir. And I'm wondering about your experience, like writing personal story that goes beyond, hey, look what I did, or like, it's about me, how does it go from just sort of masturbatory into something that's not only entertaining and relatable, but transcendent to the point where you're transforming the reader on like a physical level? How do you do that?
Well, first of all, I have to say that my neighbor just turned on their tub, and so I'm getting this noise. So I hope it's not coming through. Shut up. Anyway, but no, I mean, it's funny that you say that, because I always say that I don't write, I wouldn't just stand on a stage or write in a book. I was an escort. Hey, look what I did. If it didn't have some other kind of resonance to somebody who's not me, the idea that what I learned from it, I never do an experience, whether it was being a naked maid, whether it was being an escort, whether it's being on Broadway, it's never for me just, look what I'm doing. There's always some kind of emotional, physical thing that happens to me that I take note of. And being a writer has given me a place to put it. So the story behind me being an escort and what I learned from it, and then the relationship that I got in that judged me on it and tried to make me feel really shitty about it. I felt like, this is such a universal story, even though it's about me being an escort, which, you've had the experience, but other people haven't. But there's something in their lives that's like that they have been judged on, that they maybe did regret, even though I have no regrets about doing it. But there are just things that we all have that kind of bring us down and take us down. And I felt like by telling my story really honestly, and then also kind of adding the textures of, this is how it made me feel. This is how it made the people around me feel. What did I learn from it? All of that made it a reason to tell the story. It's like a friend of mine said, I was going to do a nightclub act. Oh, no, actually it wasn't. It was my first one-man show. And he said to me, David, when people come to see the show, if you really, really delve and you're really, really honest, he said, it's the difference between people finishing the show and going like this and going, because they're thinking about them, about what their experience was and how my experience changes them. That's what I'm interested in. So yeah, that's how it happened, was I knew that it had to be more than look what I did. So that's very astute.
Well, yeah. And I think that, honesty in storytelling, you're right that it's more than entertainment. When the sort of like clapping and the crying, it's when people see themselves reflected in your work.
Exactly. And to know that they're not alone, especially if there's things about sex and about shame, those are things that people keep very private to themselves, and they kind of live with it, and it marinates inside them and it festers. So to see somebody else struggling with it and trying to come up with, how do I live my life in a freer way? I'm speaking to them. I'm living it, but I'm speaking to them.
Hell yeah. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about, this authenticity that you bring to your work and you bring to your experiences, and bring it back in that timeline to when you're out of the closet, but you've grown up gay and in the closet, you're coming of age, You're in New York City at the height of the AIDS crisis. What was the impact on your ability to be authentically yourself, your fullest sexual self in that time? And what have been the long-term impacts of that?
Well, I got to New York in 1982, which was just, right around the time where they were discovering it and nobody knew how it was transmitted for sure and everything. And so, I went to New York partly being, oh my gosh, I'm here and I'm going to be an actor and this and that. And partly going like, oh God, I got to be careful. There was a lot of fear attached to sex because, you would walk down the street and see a friend that had spots all over him and you were like, wow, you just don't know what to say. And it was a constant thing in the 80s. So what happened is you just kind of, I've said this before, but it was awful in a certain respect. And it brought a lot of fear about sex to us. And we had to be really careful and eventually kind of figured out how to do it. But it also brought us together as a community because, we had Mayor Koch and Ronald Reagan at the time doing absolutely nothing to help, nothing, because it was only the gays. Who cares? Kill them off is what it felt like. So we had to do it for ourselves. We had to put our arms around each other and, get angry together because it wasn't one person who was going to make a difference. But you think about people, like ACT UP and Peter Staley and all those activists that were really out there screaming in the streets because nobody was fucking listening to them. And I went to ACT UP meetings. I was a little more idealistic and a little in the actor clouds, still my dream. So I wasn't as angry as they were. I pitched in where I could, but I saw that these were people who were coming together, the gay and lesbian community. It was mostly gay men that were getting it, but the lesbian community was fantastic. We put our arms around each other, we supported each other, and it was a kind of this brotherhood that we had. We all knew, like you could look at anybody and kind of go like, I got your back. Didn't even have to know them, but we had each other's back. So it was magical. And even though there was that fear of sex, look, we still had a great time. We just had to temper how we did it. But it was a magical time to be in New York in the 1980s. I will tell you that. Would I have changed anything? Yeah, I would have eradicated AIDS the minute it came out. But since we couldn't, we did what we could. We made the best of it, and we supported each other and had a really great time. Really great time.
And are there lessons from that time that have stuck with you?
Yeah, that's the second part of your question. The scars run deep. And because having seen so many people die of AIDS and HIV disease, I still am not like 100% free. And like, I still use rubbers. And even though I'm on PrEP, I still am, I don't think that there's just certain things that feel like they are never going to leave me. And I was in a relationship in the relationship in the book where after a while he wanted to throw away rubbers and just, be the two of us, which made me very uncomfortable at the time. And I found it kind of controlling also, but I did it. But I realized I did it to save the relationship rather than because I really wanted to do it. So even to this day, I'm still kind of like, I'm still careful. I mean, I can be a pig, certainly, a pig too romantic, but I'm still really careful. And I don't think the rubbers are going to go away anytime soon because there's other stuff out there, there's other, sexually transmitted diseases, and who knows what the next thing is going to be. So I may live my entire life being, protected by a rubber, but that's my choice. I don't belittle anybody else who does what they want to do. But it's because of the scars of seeing so many people die that I don't know that it's going to change. Maybe one day, who knows?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get in, you touched a little bit there on your acting career and that you were in New York, I don't want to say you were a struggling actor, but you were definitely.
I had my times, yeah.
You had your times, right? And we've all been there. Anyone who's been an actor knows what that's like. You need to have a side hustle. And so for many years. I think most actors have that experience of working in restaurants or working in the service industry, working with people. And that's what you did, right? But I actually, before I get into that side of things, I want to talk first about your acting career and the fact that, like, you're not a doctor, but you often play one on TV. And you write in the book about venturing into mainstream TV work meant taking a couple steps back into the closet. So what's your secret to playing these characters authentically without having to play them straight? And
Well,
yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, look at this. Doctor face. This is doctor face, I'm a caretaking person. I think that's one of the reasons why I get hired, is because, I'm the guy that if you're going to like die of colon cancer, I'm the guy who should tell you, because I'll be very caring about it, as I did in the movie Liz and Dick with Lindsay Lohan.
I wasn't going to ask about Lindsay Lohan, but I kind of want to.
Yeah. Let's move on. Because I'm sure she's out there listening. Hi, Linz. Anyway, it's just that when I first started showing up on TV sets, I felt like it felt a little backstage, like a little bit of a boys' club. And so I didn't feel comfortable kind of being like the gay guy, like if somebody was going to make a joke about a girl or something, or make a comment about a woman that was really kind of gross, I didn't feel comfortable going like, you shouldn't say, I kept to myself very much. And so I did feel like I kind of stepped a little bit out backstage. I felt that. But the secret to, and eventually I became more comfortable with it, the more comfortable I became on sets, because the people backstage, they work so goddamn hard, longer and harder than anybody. So I have total respect for them. And I just had to relax more into this, I'm showing up on your set for 2 or 3 days. So, be friendly, but don't overdo, whatever. I learned that. But when it came to playing the roles that I played a lot of, my secret was that I was gay. That was my secret. And very rarely did I have a role where it was about like, my personal life. I had very much the kind of like, I'm a smart doctor. I'm going to tell you the way it is. Here's what you're going to do about it. Very rarely did it get into like my backstory. And so when I wasn't handed a backstory, my backstory was that after this, I'm going home to my husband. And I may slip into the bathroom and jerk off for a moment because some cute guy walked in. I mean, those were the kind of things that I gave myself so that I felt really comfortable playing this role. And you would never know it necessarily, but I kind of went, look, why does the doctor have to be straight? Why? Doesn't have to be. It wasn't in the script. I got hired based on what I did at the audition, and I'm gay. So, and it makes more fun for me too. I'm rooting for Lohan. I am too. She's been through a lot. Anyway, so I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Oh, it totally answers my question. And just to follow that up, like, why is it so important for gay characters to have roles in mainstream TV and film, whether they're played openly or subversively?
Because we have as many, it used to be, my mom once said to me, why do you play so many gay roles? Why are you being so exclusive, And I was like, because we have as many stories to tell as you do, and some of it has nothing to do with us being gay. It has to do with us being human, and then playing a character that happens to be gay. But why can't they happen to be gay? And it's getting better. Certainly all of that is getting better. But and for years I actually didn't know what to tell my mother when she said that to me. Why do you keep doing that? Why can't you play ba 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 ba? And it wasn't until I write in the book that I was played Ebenezer Scrooge in a gay version of Scrooge and Marley, which is going to be coming back on streaming soon, thank God. And we were at the opening at the Music Box Theater. It was a big night. It was the premiere of the movie, big audience. And we did a Q&A afterwards. And somebody asked me that question. They said, like, do you enjoy playing so many gay roles? Because I see in your resume, you've done this, 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 and this. And out of the blue, that's what came to me was, yes, I do. Because we have a zillion stories to be told that have not been told yet. And it's time. And if all I ever do is play gay roles, happily, as long as it's chunky and meaty and, so that's important to me. It is. And I do feel that if I only played gay roles the rest of my life and they were, good, strong gay roles, I'd be okay with that.
You do later in the book have pretty strong words for gay celebrities who are still in the closet. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, look, there's a lot of there are some leading men who are coming out, who are out, and maybe they don't throw it in the face of America, but we know they're out, and that's great. But there aren't enough, because I feel like I understand people in a certain respect, it isn't our business. But in a certain respect, if you're gay and you show up on the red carpet with a beard, fuck you. I hate that. That to me is so self-loathing, and it still happens all the time. And every time I read in the paper, the paparazzi catch, so-and-so and so-and-so together. And I know full well that they're both gay. And then look, it's the media that kind of builds it up, but it's the people at the center of it, whether it's their publicists or whatever, that set these things up. I think it's disgusting. And there are now enough people coming out, and, character actors, it was a little easier and we had more of that, but we are now starting to have a few more leading men come out, and especially the younger ones who are kind of like, I don't care. And that's what it is. It's like, no apologies, come out, don't apologize. This is who I am. Be fucking talented so they can't get you on your talent, but stop making it such a big fucking deal anymore. At this point in 2022, really for somebody to, and I don't care what level you're at, and I don't care how long people have known you as a straight person, and when you are gay, come the fuck out already and done. I think about all the kids, the kids who need role models, I'm not saying that he is, because I don't think The Rock is gay, but say The Rock was gay and was not coming out and was showing up with, with a beard. Could you understand that if The Rock came out as gay, what that would do? The kind of platform he has? That's what some of those people have. And kids need to see these people. They need to know there's hope. They need to know that they can, climb the highest mountain of any career they want. And it doesn't make a difference if you're gay. So, and I know he's not gay, The Rock. So, sorry, Wayne. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring him up. But you know what I'm talking about. It makes me very angry, very angry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wonder how you feel then about the sex work closet.
Let's get on that now. This is something both of us can definitely talk about. Again, I one of the things I wanted to do with this book was first off say, yeah, I did it. I was a male escort. I was a naked maid. Now, immediately in some people's eyes, as it has been in some relationships that maybe didn't happen, it's like, well, I can't date you and I'm not going to hire you. And, in this, especially in Hollywood, it's like, no, you've got too much bad history. And I mean, I've never really had that I know of, but partly because I'm not like 33 and, a GQ model, but it almost shouldn't matter. To me, the fact that people will hire and have been hiring people since eternity, and that there has been erotica out there, porn out there that people watch, whether they admit it or not. I just don't understand. I'm gobsmacked by how conventional wisdom is, if you've done porn or if you've been an escort, you can't cross over. I just think that's ridiculous. I'm out to prove that that's not true. I was escorting before I started doing network TV stuff here in LA. So now, did people know about it? No, not necessarily, unless they read the screenplay that I wrote about it. But I just don't understand why that bit of information can be ruinous to somebody. I don't get it. I'm always I always welcome people kind of challenging me on that, saying, well, but it's illegal, or, well, but I don't want my kids to see you with a heart on in a photo if they come on it on a computer. And I will answer all of those things, but there's too much ick about sex and sex work. And I think that it makes us feel shitty about ourselves. And I chose to do it, like I believe you did. I chose to do sex work. It wasn't anything I was forced to do. I did it my way. I loved it. I did it well. I used every facet of my being as a human being, as a caretaker, as a sex pig, as a romantic. It was all there, And my experience may not have been the same as that guy. Or if you think that they're all drug addicts, or that they're all, fucked up from family, that somebody in their family molested them, or this. Well, no, that didn't happen to me. So get that stereotype out of your head. It's a job that I did, that I wanted to do, and I loved it. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about the way that your creativity and your sexuality sort of commingled as a sex worker. Like, the fact that you approached the work as an actor, there's this sort of iconic scene for me when you're going to your first appointment and you're going up in the elevator and you're repeating to yourself as a reassurance, you're an actor, you can do this. So I would love to hear what you feel like is the connection between acting and sex work, and if maybe there are similarities between the way you've approached both professions.
I think when I first started doing it, it was a little fake it till you make it, because one of my challenges, and this was something I talk about in the book, was I was not used to sleeping with men that I was not attracted to or having sex with them. And so when I took this job, the pimp guy who interviewed me said, you're not going to be sexually attracted to most of the guys that you see. He said, can you do this? And I had just thrown away this cute, wonderful, terrific guy because he was a little plump for me. And it was like, and I felt shitty about myself, but I couldn't help it at the time. So I said, well, I'm just going to try it. This is something I want to do. I want to see if I can do that. And I want to see if I'm enough for somebody to want to pay me to have sex. It was something I needed to find out. And sure enough, when I started doing it, at first, when I walked through the door, I was a little like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But then I started to change my focus. And my focus became about their smile, their sense of humor, their smarts, their apartment. I mean, there were just so many things about them that made me kind of go like, oh, this isn't going to be hard work. This is just connection. And I'm very good as an actor. And in that job, it's all about connection. And if you can find that, you can do anything. And that made a big difference for me. And it made a difference in my life, because I found that I was still kind of sleeping with really hot guys who some of them were idiots, And I kind of was going like, I think I missed the guy who was kind of skinny, but had that great smile. Or the one that made that joke that really made me laugh while we were fucking, like that guy instead of that guy. It really had a lot of resonance for me, that job. It changed my life in many, many good ways.
Yeah, I feel like from what I was able to glean from your narrative, it felt like it destroyed a superficiality in you. It
did. And it also, again, it's not like, look what I did. It's look how I'm doing it, and that has lasted, from all the erotic stuff that I do now, the videos and the photos and stuff. I really try to bring some other level of either humor or storytelling or something. People laugh when I say that I try to bring some art to the porn. They're like, oh, David, it's just porn. I'm like, well, if that's what it is to you, that's fine. But you don't understand that I'm curating it in my head. I'm trying to bring something more to it. Both the videos, originally the photos, but now the videos too. And that's because I'm an artist. And that's what artists do. They find another level. So.
That's right. I would love for you to share with the audience the Vanessa Williams rule.
Excellent. So I don't know how many people, I don't know how young some people are who are watching this or listening to this. Vanessa Williams was Miss America for about 3 days or whatever. And they found photos of her in Penthouse Forum where she was nude with another woman and kind of putting her tongue where they were not happy that she was putting her tongue. And they took away her crown. And at the time, she held a press conference. And it was 1984, I think it was. She held a press conference at one of the big hotels in New York, and it was open to the public. And I was like, I'm going, because this pisses me off that they knocked her down. Pisses me off. And I had a certain memory about it that I needed to check when I wrote about this, that I needed to Google to make sure that I was right. And there was a little adjustment in what I remembered of it, because I didn't remember her ever saying anything bad about posing for those photos. What she did say was, you know, when you're young, you sometimes make mistakes. But then she went on to say, but I didn't think it was morally wrong. And she said, I don't apologize for it. She never apologized. She never decried. And it was more about that somebody used the photos when she said that she didn't give them the right to do it. It was really all about that. And she did not apologize. She did not cower. And that's the Vanessa Williams rule, is do not apologize. Do not give into the morality of them, you know, form your own morality and stick with it. As a publicist friend of mine said, be the master of your own story. Don't let them do it to you. And that's why, because she didn't apologize, that's why she still has a fantastic career, because she didn't let them eat her whole. She lost the job, but to her, it was about moving forward with no shame. She did not shame about it. You know, I mean, she had a press conference about it. Good for her. And she addressed it. She addressed it full-heartedly, and then moved the fuck on. That's the Vanessa Williams rule.
And you abide by that.
Totally. I mean, no apologies. You know, I've had people come at me and say, you know, why don't you put a shirt on, or why stop showing your dick? You're 63 years old. Why are you doing that? You know, you shouldn't be why are you wearing a Speedo when you should be wearing board shorts or covering? Like, don't tell me what my rules are. I don't need your opinion. You can say your opinion. I've, you know, absolutely, but I don't have to listen. And I certainly don't have to follow it. Follow your own rules. What makes you comfortable, what makes you happy when it comes to sex, when it comes to anything, fuck it, you know?
I don't know if people realize how many nude photos of you are in this book.
There's a bunch.
There's a bunch of really hot, sexy photos of you.
No erections.
David.
We chose
I wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to ask what the conversation was like with Penguin Random House about your nudes, because there seems to be a pretty firm line drawn between flaccid cock and erect cock.
Yeah. In fact, the first photo there's two photo sections. One is kind of more life stuff and whatever. And the second one is kind of my journey as an erotic model. And the first photo, which is my favorite photo that I've ever taken, it's kind of we're not sure if it was erect. And they said, you know what? My editor was like, let's crop it. We can use it, but let's use that as a talking point. So in the first page of it, that's where I addressed that I went along with not using erections because we didn't want the book to get shut down. We didn't want it to get banned. We didn't want them to cellophane it, you know, so I was okay with that. And look, they're wiser than me when it comes to the world of the literary world. So I was perfectly fine about it, but I did want to make sure that I made a statement about it. And that, you know, I do think that some of my more provocative artistic photos have erections in them. Some of my favorite photos do. And I have to get on the internet and find them. But the photos that we did choose for them there's a lot of portraits in there, but they're kind of different moods. And the fact we had to go black and white and not color, so that, you know, there were some that I couldn't use because color was a big deal in them. So there were limitations in what we could choose for this, but I've been doing this for so many years. I had plenty of choices, and I think the choices are good. There's some just have subtle differences, but they're almost all different photographers that I've worked with, and the photographers were great. They're like, yes, here, I'm thrilled that you're doing this, and you know, and I just didn't. And also, I also say at the page, if you don't want to look at them, I'm okay with that. Skip this photo section. That's perfectly fine. I hope that you will. I hope that if you're not looking at it because you're like, I hope that's not it. So you can turn all the pages, although the next page here, there's a big old full page naked photo with my dick sticking out there. And I'm sorry, I guess I'm kind of shoving it in your face there, but I just don't want people to like, I don't think it should be a big deal.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, that leads us to your like current, work online. So you're obviously no stranger to censorship. You're a Tumblr refugee. And now you're on OnlyFans. And
Are you
so
a Tumblr
I'd
refugee also?
I'm not, I'm not, but I'm happy to read about your experience. And you were talking so highly of Tumblr, and I was waiting for like, okay, let's talk about the fall of Tumblr here, and you get there, right? So I have a lot of questions about your experience with OnlyFans. And yeah, Twitter also took in a lot of Tumblr refugees. It's like so sad. It's so sad. But now you're on OnlyFans, and what has that experience been like, as far as like being an online content creator in your space?
Wait, I'm kind of losing you.
OnlyFans allowed you to not only like sexually express yourself, but also, whoop, you hear me?
I'm kind of losing you, but I get the.
I'll just repeat that. The jizz of it. Basically, OnlyFans, how has it allowed you to creatively express yourself and sexually express yourself, especially at your age? And how has it kept you financially afloat during the pandemic?
Well, look, we were talking about Tumblr. For people who don't know, in 2018, Tumblr decided to nix any kind of adult material. So, and I had all these naked photos, and I knew that I needed to go somewhere else, even though now plenty of people are showing their dicks there, but they're not getting caught. So I don't know. Anyway, so in looking for another place to go, I did go to Twitter, but Twitter only allows 4 photos. And I had photo sets where I was trying to tell a story, and so it wasn't enough. So I went to OnlyFans, and I started by doing what I did on Twitter, which was posting photo shoots for free. It's a subscription service, but I chose to not charge because I wasn't charging on Tumblr. And then a friend of mine asked me to do a couple of these little sex films that he was creating, kind of artsy sex films. And they were really fun. And I felt like, oh, I'm really in my element here. It's kind of art and sex put together on film. I kind of loved that. But I was like, oh, I don't know where to put them. And I said, if anything ever happened, I would, and if I decided to put the videos on OnlyFans, I would then charge a subscription so that the people who really wanted to see it could see it, and the looky-loos who were just there to kind of go, oh, old man, what do you do? Wouldn't have access to that. And then COVID happened. And I'm a personal organizer, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and except for some royalty and residual stuff, I was not having any kind of financial anything. So that's when I decided to pull the trigger and start posting videos and charging a subscription. And it's the best choice I've ever made, because not only did it get me through the pandemic, and also because of this book and because of doing things like this, it's like growing, which I'm thrilled about, because I'm still handling it the way I've handled it all year, creatively, with a real heart and real, shamelessly. Sometimes it's artsy, sometimes it's XXX. But everything tells a story, and it's such a, when I realize creatively that I do approach things like even doing a jerk off video, I do approach it from an artistic standpoint. If it is just me jerking off, then I do something with, I love editing, and I love, I have a very simplistic, I do it on iMovie, but I can kind of make it interesting. And sometimes I do just do a blatant, here I am getting fucked. And sometimes that needs to be that. But I play with things, and I started to put up more photo shoots, and sometimes single photos, sometimes full curated galleries. And the thing that I started doing lately is I've started to write about the behind the scenes of the videos, or I'll take the photo set and talk about what made me get to that? Or, and this is my new favorite thing to do, is I'll take a random photo and I'll tell a story about it that may or may not be true. And I'll make it as like from the bottom of my filthy brain to make it as erotic and sexual and blatant as I possibly can, with humor and with art. And I'm loving doing that. And it seems that people are like, getting a lot of likes on those. And I call it random photo with story. Here's the story. And then at the end, I say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So it may or may not be true. A lot of it is, because I've had a lot of experiences, but I get excited thinking about all the different possibilities that I can now channel my sexuality into my work. I love it.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, and you really do, you join like a sort of like legion, like thousands of people around the world who really like have managed to eke out a place for themselves.
And a living.
And a living.
I have a friend who's also on OnlyFans, and he said to me, and I was kind of like, I got to steal that. He said, for anybody who criticizes him for being on OnlyFans, he's like, you know what, motherfucker, pay my bills, and then you can have an opinion.
Exactly.
Do you do what you need to do?
Do you ever worry though that OnlyFans will go the way of Tumblr?
Well, it almost did. Just a few months ago, they were like, we're going to cut all adult material from it, and then they got real bad blowback. The good news is that there are other options. Just for Fans is my guy. There are other places to go. I was ready to go to Just for Fans if that was going to happen. It would have been a lot of work because I have over 1,100 posts on, and that's not just like 1,100 photos and videos. That's 1,100 posts. Some of them have 10 photos. Some of them have 2 videos. So if you pay your $9.99 to onlyfans.com/realguyla, there's a whole history for you to look at if you're so inclined. And I continue to add to it. So it's not always easy to stay creative, but that's the challenge. Keep it fresh, keep it engaging. If it happens that it goes under, look, I actually thought I would do it for a couple of months and then it was done. And, video, I was there since the end of 2018, but video wise, I started in when COVID happened, 2020. So we'll see how long it lasts. As long as I'm enjoying it, as long as I feel I have something new to say and do, I'll probably keep it up. Or if I get too busy doing something else, I may, for right now, I've had the time of my life. I've loved it. It's part of me that I always knew was there. And I semi-expressed it on Tumblr, but now I'm really, and I can see that there's a lot of stuff about ageism that people want to speak about. So,
yeah. So, let's answer some of these questions from the audience. So, okay, this one is from Susan. David, at some point, could you talk about older bodies as sexually unattractive, unless, of course, your body looks like it belongs to a fit 35-year-old? Also, what about porn, including, fetish, like GILFs, or excluding, because they're not attractive enough, older bodies, both male and female?
Okay, so I do get into the ageism aspect in the book, in case anybody is concerned. As a 63-year-old man now, ageism started when I was over 40. When suddenly the little 22-year-olds that I was attracted to would look at me like, ugh, especially if you had a beard. They were, ew, gross. Or, friends who were, had a little bit of a belly and a hairy chest, and you could just see the younger guys go, ugh. Well, here's what happened. Suddenly we found our tribes. Suddenly there were daddies and bears and twinks and twunks. And suddenly you had a tribe, and suddenly you found out that, oh, there's a lot of the young guys, the twinks, who like the daddies, and they're not afraid to say it. And suddenly when you become a certain age, I just think that when you become a certain age, it seems to me that people give up after 50. Oh, I'm single. I'm never going to find anybody. I've put on a few pounds. I'm not sexually attractive. Look, we've all felt that way. And I have tried to keep myself in shape, because it's not just for the look of it, because it makes me feel better, and I've certainly gotten soft and everything, but it's up here. If you think you're done, you're done. And so, and especially if you're 50 or 60, how many years do you have ahead of you? 20, 30? Do you really want to spend the next 20 or 30 years thinking, well, I'm done? It's such an easy little click in your head, and it opens your eyes to what's around you, rather than, like, well, I only wanted to date, 30-year-old dark-haired guys with great bodies. Well, if you're 60 something and you haven't been dating and you're not finding that, maybe you're being a little exclusionary, and open your eyes. Get out there. It's hard during COVID. It's been very lonely during COVID. But I just think there's something about, if you decide you're done, if you decide you're not attractive sexually, you're done. And you have to get good with your body. You have to get good with your mind. You have to do what you can, so that if you do feel like, oh, I hate my body. Okay, well, don't hate your body today. You still have, you're lucky you're here. Use your body well. But then what can you do? Maybe eat a little better, or maybe, or if you don't want to do any of that, exercise or anything, then you have to change your mindset about what you look like. I see a lot of women and men who are plus size, who don't give a crap what anybody thinks about them. They're like, I am sexy. And it is sexy. Confidence is sexy. And if you don't have the confidence, that's what you need to work on. I mean, I hate to sound like I'm not a therapist. All I know is that my conflicts for my entire life have been because of lack of confidence and putting my self-esteem in the wrong places. It just kills me when I talk to somebody and they're like, well, it's never going to happen for me. Look, I'm 63. I haven't had many boyfriends at all. I'm still a romantic, and I still feel like it's going to be late for me, but there's somebody out there for me that's, not maybe what I wanted when I was a younger guy. The TV stars that we talked about may not be that, but, I'm not giving up, and I won't give up. So I don't know, does that answer your question? The ageism thing, I do believe that, yes, there is ageism. There absolutely is, but it's what you do about it that really counts. And if there's some little shit calling you like, hey, old man, whatever, you say, look, you little punk, address it, because they're going to be old one day. And the kid standing next to them who doesn't want to say it might be like, well, I like daddies, but I'm not going to say anything because, he's making fun of them. So I'm not going to say, I'm done with it. I really am. And I want people to feel better about themselves at any age. Sorry. Somebody has something about ageism.
I felt a little critical about you. Yeah. Well, just like one thing though, you call yourself a mature escort at what, like
I was
33 when you started?
36.
You were 30. Oh, okay, 36. Mature. I mean, I was thinking that's like, you go from teen to MILF.
Well, back then, this was in the mid 90s. 36 in the gay community was kind of old, because everybody was 22, 23, shiny bodies, whatever. And so, and the escorts were that's what people supposedly wanted. But I found this one agency that was looking for guys, older, and I was 36, and that was older then. So I guess I've been a daddy, for 30 years now.
I think it's your true form. It looks good on you.
Well, thank you. This comes and goes, and I think I do look older with it, but I kind of like it. And I don't care. Like, it just, I want to look like the way I want to look like. And I think it's about being your authentic self. And I do believe if you are your authentic self, then you attract, you can just be attractive to people if you believe it. Fake it till you make it.
Well, I'll read this question from Alan. It is sort of definitely related to what we're talking about. So any thoughts on ageism in the business? Although I'm not sure which business.
Probably
Sex
not sex work,
business.
I think.
Or acting.
Yeah, acting. Look,
okay, so there is a preconceived notion you have to start early in your career to get in, and the journey is harder if you are queer and pierced.
Here's the thing. Is it harder if you're gay to get into the business? I don't think so today as much, because I think the kids don't care anymore. They're coming in out of the closet, many of them. So who knows what their future is going to be. There are some people playing leads on shows that are out of the closet. And so bravo, let's keep that going. Older people who are in the closet, who are stars, come the fuck out, as we talked about already. Ageism in the business. Talk to women, talk to Meryl Streep about ageism in the business. She's got all the roles of the over 60 set, and women have been, decrying it for years. And so they're making their own projects. Hollywood, there's still a lot of men running Hollywood, and you can still have the 60-year-old guy with the 20-year-old girlfriend. But there are people now who are really actresses who are really addressing that, who are looking for equal pay, even if they're older, and equal screen time and more diverse roles. And I think that these actresses who were 20 and 30 that are now 40 and 50 and are very successful, they're creating stuff for themselves that is just stellar. So good for them. And in terms of men, Harrison Ford keeps going. Yes, there is ageism, but I also feel that it's never too late for somebody who was saying, like, I'm too old to get in the business. No, there's a lot of people who leave the business before they get old. And then, so a guy leaves after 40 years old because he's like, I'm tired of it and I don't like the whatever, so I'm leaving. Then you come in at the age of 45 and you're up for his roles now. It's never too late. If you really want to do it and you have a lot of gumption and a lot of support and a lot of talent, jump in, make it your business. What else we got?
So we've got one more question for this evening, and it's from Natasha. So I'm a current sex worker and I would love to write about my own experiences and publish. Is there anything both of you could say about what it was like to finally go and write about those experiences?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I think it's really interesting. And I was thinking about this in the context of your book too, is like, there's a difference between coming out and then coming out with a work of art. And I think there is something so incredibly freeing about being able to produce a piece of art about your experience doing something that's incredibly taboo in a culture, no matter what it is. But particularly with sex work, I find that it's easier for people to digest when you present it in a form that's creative and artistic. So I think that if you want to write a sex work memoir, do it. You got to do it. It's the best. You really, really should. And it's really
kind of losing you here. We gotcha. Go.
Oh no. You hear me? Okay. Right before I published my memoir, or as I was working on it, I met this stranger and I told them about the situation, and I expressed my fear that I was afraid of all the doors that might close by coming out. And they said, but imagine how many doors might open. And to me, that's why I chose to publish. So that's my piece. What do you think, David?
Well, first of all, I think it's very brave to go in that direction and to have the not just the confidence, but the faith that for all the doors that close, other ones will open. And the fact that you're being so true to yourself and being authentic and telling your story. I think we all have stories to tell, but not everybody's going to do it. Not everybody has the bravery to do it. So the thing that I would say is that, my sister, who I love dearly, said to me, would you have written this book if mom and dad were still alive? And they both died over just the last few years. And I thought that was a really good question, because I'd started the book when my dad was alive. And certainly I had the one-man show about me and the movie that I wrote about being an escort out there, but they didn't really, it's nothing I chose to talk to them about. And I'm sure they didn't want to know. But I said to her, it's a story I feel like I really needed to tell, not just for me, but because I think it could help other people. So yeah, I like to think that I would have. But the stuff that you might object to in the book, the fact that I'm kind of brutally honest with myself, I'm not like yay me through the whole book. Believe me, I own up to to the qualities that I needed to change, and I do it sometimes pretty explicitly in my language and explicitly certainly in the photos. What I would encourage anybody who is writing their story, especially about sex work, be honest. Really, because I am sure that there are things that happen that were either really funny or really emotional or really scary, whatever. Do not censor those. Put them in there. People, people kind of, anything that kind of breaks the stereotype of what a sex worker is, I think is a great thing to say that it's humanity happening. Sometimes it's like a fucking horror show. I never had that experience except for one time that I talk about in the book. But for the most part, I had to tell the story the way I did. So that's what I would say. If you're going to tell it, don't go, because I've worked with people before, like, ooh, here's what really happened. Like people who are doing shows, will work on a scene and then they'll go, but here's what really happened. And it's like this incredible story, but I think it made me look really kind of bad, or I didn't come off well. I'm like, well, then I can't work with you. If you're not going to own up to that and put it as part of the story, as part of your humanity, I can't help you. So that's what I would say, is just be honest as hell. And if it's too much and you work with someone, they will pull you back as your reader, as your audience, when it needs to be. But don't, just get it out there. Vomit it out, baby.
Yeah. Well, thank you, David. This has been such a joy.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like, it's a chatty Cathy, but I love the fact that we have so much in common, you and I. We just met, but I feel a kindred spirit with you.
Totally.
I'm so grateful that you both joined us today and that you were able to connect, because we could definitely tell that you were kindred spirits and you had a lovely connection on stage. So
and Andrea's book is coming out in April, so be on the lookout.
Yes. If you want to plug it and tell us a little bit about it more. I was going to say, Andrea, I thank you for that opener. What a way to open. I think you set the tone and just broke the boundaries of the conversation from the very start. So I really appreciate that you really set the tone for that conversation like that from the very beginning. So I'm very grateful that you're here. And
thanks, Sesame.
Open Sesame. I mean, that was the topic. That was what it's about. So thank you. Thank you for not holding back, both of you as well.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone in the comments and everyone who participated for spending your evening with us and for being so present and so respectful also with your questions and with all your commentary. So if you want to watch this event again, if your friends missed it, if your friends want to watch that initial opener and you can't stop talking about it, you can watch this in the in the library's YouTube channel. We're going to put a link to the playlist right there on the chat. If you don't know how to find it afterwards, just go to the library's YouTube channel and you'll see it under a playlist called Cultural Programming or Cultural at VPL. And next thing to say is that, we would love it if you gave us your feedback about this event, because as a public institution, our responsibility is to do programs that work for you. So your feedback is really important, and it's a form that will take you 1 minute to fill out. It's very easy, and I promise you it doesn't go into a black hole of the internet. I actually read them, and we adapt our programming and we respond to what your needs and what your comments are. So Candy's going to share that in the chat. If you want to find out about more events like this, we also have a newsletter and we have a bunch of social channels on every platform. Not only fans yet, but we do have.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, okay. We'll
Yeah, I'll be there too.
consult. Library only fans. On that note, I'm going to end by telling you about 2 upcoming events. And so next Wednesday, on February the 2nd, we're hosting a conversation about consumerism and what it's going to take for us to keep from consuming the world with Michael Harris and Anjali Appadurai. And then on Thursday, we're hosting a Lunar New Year event where we're going to discuss the secrets of those little red envelopes that symbolize good wishes for the new year and are an integral part of this celebration. So I hope to see some of you or all of you at these next events. That's it for me plugging events and plugging library signups and newsletters and feedback forms. You'll see all the links there. And that's the end of the event. That's a wrap. Thank you all again for joining. David, Andrea, what a pleasure to have you on stage.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Just so everyone knows, we're going to